Police reveal further details after stopping a man who drove without insurance or a license for more than 70 years. Because he's an old man, everyone's like, oh, bless him, let him away with it.
We'd be having a completely different conversation if he'd been touching little kids. Let's be fair about this.
Yes, Baz, that is a different conversation. I don't think his defence then would be, I've been doing it since I was 12.
I was thinking that.
Oh, bless him. Oh, that's all right, isn't it? He's old and he's been doing it since he was 12, so let's let him off with it. Everything from within me evacuated. Whilst I was in the queue to get in the nightclub. Luckily, I was wearing briefs that night and not boxer shorts. So it held it like a hammer.
Another podcast my mum can't listen to.
Hello, and welcome to The Lock-In. I'm Mike, and this is Baz. Say hello, Baz.
Hello, Baz.
Lovely stuff. If you've not been with us before, if you've not seen us or heard of us before, this is The Lock-In podcast. This is me and Baz in our virtual pub, the Brace of Readlings, where we just sit, have a few drinks, have a chat, and we chat to the person who's turned up at our table in our virtual pub. Tonight's guest is a musician, actor, director, comedy, and TikToker, if that's an actual thing.
Yeah.
His name is Mr. Gregor Mackay.
Hey.
Hello.
Gregor.
Hello.
How's it going? You all right?
I'm good, lads. How's it going?
Very good.
Yeah. Did you like my description of it? Because I do have people who were listening last week and the week before. You know, when we had Liam McDevitt on and we had Clara Batten on. I was saying how much I appreciate it when people have got information on the internet that I can look at to help me write an introduction and so on. And we had Steve Robinson. I actually just read the back of his autobiography, so that was really easy to write an introduction for him. So next time you come on, Gregor, when you've got an autobiography, I'll just do that for you. Anyway, so I went online, and as an actor, obviously there's a lot of websites that tout you out, and yeah, I've gone on one of those, which is Mandy.com. Are you aware of Mandy.com?
Yeah, listen, that's one of those ones you do before you have an agent. You go on there.
Right, okay, well, here we go then. So, there's a couple of things on this. So it gives you a bit of an overview. It says your age. The other thing that I like as well is your height's listed as 5'12".
Is it?
That's kind of the reverse, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
usually people who are 5'11" would say, "Oh, I'm 5'11" and a bit," or the lion say 6 foot. I don't know anyone who is 6 foot who describes it as 5'12".
I never do. I'm 6 foot. That's what I tell everybody. That's really strange.
The first thing I want to talk to you about, Gregor, is the comedy. Would you call it a comedy troupe, or would you call it how would you describe three men who do comedy?
A comedy trio.
Well, fucking walked into that, didn't I?
You asked, you got.
Oh, I'm glad this is mainly an audio podcast. All right, clever dick. All right, so he's in a comedy trio called Ouija Hink at That, and talk us through it.
Yeah, so I'm part of a sketch group, but it's like a musical sketch group. It's not a musical. We do loads of skits and stuff, but we have loads of silly songs, all observational, all about what's going on in Scotland, and a lot of things that are just like kind of 5 a.m. thoughts, you know, those kind of weird ones that come to you at the end of a night.
You've been out on tour recently. How did that go?
Oh, it was great, yeah. It was the first kind of mini tour that we've done in a while, because obviously COVID has dictated the last 2 years, but it was great. And we haven't really stopped. It was a tour, but we're just kind of booking gigs at the minute. So we're still all over the place. We just aren't really calling it a tour anymore. We're just kind of going wherever seems to be attracting us.
How does it work though in terms of having three of you? Because I obviously found you first as you were just doing your solo stuff, which obviously is great. But like, how do you meld that with what you do with two other people?
I started out in uni, doing comedy with the boys, and we did that because I studied acting. At the end of our course, they say to you, you need to put a fringe group together, and you need to go do the Edinburgh Fringe. For anyone who maybe doesn't know what the Edinburgh Fringe is, it's like one of the biggest arts festivals in I'd say the world.
Yeah.
If I do say so. And I studied in Edinburgh, so it was at our doorstep. And I was kind of like, what do people like at the Fringe? And the school were like, the uni were like, go do a play. And I was like, fuck that. I want to make money. I want to make a bit of money doing this. I mean, I bet money's like beer money back then, but I was like, I want to do something that I think people will actually come and watch, not just my family and my friends. So we were like, let's have a wee talk about this and think about some ideas. And I just started writing sketch comedy. I had no prior experience to any of that. I just always thought, I could give it a go. I've seen enough Still Game, enough Scottish sketch shows to justify it. So yeah, it just kind of ran from there.
How did that first show go? How did that show at the Fringe go?
It was wild. It was wild because we did a show before that in Glasgow and then took it to Fringe. But it was a free show that we did at Fringe, and we did it for like 6 or 7 nights, and every single night it was packed out.
Wow.
It was just because we flyered right next to Edinburgh Waverley train station, and the Glasgow train was every 20 minutes. So I'd just stand there when the Glasgow train came out and was like, free Glasgow comedy show, and you'd find that folk were just dashing for it.
So as a process of going into that, I'm assuming you must have done some practice, to make sure it runs, or did you just completely have your stuff and then freewheel it?
So I'd written it and we'd been rehearsing, but sometimes I think naivety is a blessing. And if you don't quite know, I've always said this to myself, if ever I've been eager to want to try something or do something, I always try not to overlook where I'm at with it. So yeah, it could be an incredibly difficult thing, and a lot of people would think, right, going and doing a show like that, you need to make sure it's proper and this, that, and the other. Whereas I see it like, first year I did it, you weren't paying anything for it.
Yeah, okay.
So you're taking a risk just as much as I'm taking a risk. So it just kind of worked like that. And yeah, so other than rehearsals, I had nothing. I didn't know if it was funny.
You're not paying for this, so fuck it. I'm not going to put any of my time into it. We're just going to wing it and see how it goes.
You don't even care it's funny. It's free.
If you don't think it's funny, I'll give you your money back. You've recently been doing some work with BBC Scotland, which is pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, that came from TikTok as well.
Did it really?
Yeah. I had a director get in touch. I'd worked with him on a short film about a year before this, but I don't think he realised I did comedy stuff, and he'd seen all the sketches I was doing, and I'd shared them on Instagram, and he sent me a wee message. He's like, listen, I do freelance directing and stuff for BBC short stuff. I think you would thrive on that platform. We need to get you on it. Have you got any sketches? And I always do this. I have a folder of just all this nonsensical stuff, whether it's Ouija's show or just my own thoughts. I always write it down because you never know when it's going to come in use. So thankfully I had a bunch of sketches that I could just fire to him straight away. He then, we created like a little pitch, put it together, sent it to BBC, and they took it. And then since then, I think I just kind of found myself on a bit of a winning streak with them. I just kept landing sketches. So still battering away with that, and hopefully that will amount to a bigger thing with them.
People can find that, I believe, on the BBC Scotland Facebook page. Isn't that right, Gregor?
Yes, I like that pitch. I would never have thought to have done that. So yeah, you can get it. You can get it on all the BBC Scotland socials, but you can also get it on iPlayer, I believe, under short stuff. So it should be on there.
That's where you'd find me, by the way, if it was just short stuff.
Exactly. No, that's your section of OnlyFans.
I know it's a different name for that. That's a little tiny thing.
It's the same category name, but different website.
Yeah, I feel like if I was to do OnlyFans, I would call it OnlyBams, and I would just sit there with my hat on and just my guitar covering these hairless nipples of mine.
Hey, there's some mileage in that. Someone would pay.
The BBC thing, like you say, you hope it'll. I'm sure it will progress to something, because obviously the more I see of you, the more. Not that I count. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a BBC commissioning editor or anything like that, but it's only a matter of time, mate. Your stuff's amazing. So yeah, if people want to catch up with that, you also done a podcast recently. Talk us through that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we started the Sketch Boys and me started our own podcast, the podcast. We did it because we just realized.
Don't worry though, because I won't let you promote it on here. So I'm going to bleep out what you just said. And you said the name of it. I didn't bring you on here to promote another podcast.
Please do it shite anyway.
I'm only joking. Say it again. It's fine.
Basically, we started the W.H.A.T podcast, and
no one will have heard that. I bleeped it out again.
And with this podcast, the aim of it was basically just to talk about the Scottish comedy scene, because me and the boys we've been struggling to find time and actually sit down together and just have a chat like we usually do out with gigging, just because we've been gigging so much. So we thought, right, we've taken a bit of a break over Christmas, come back, we'll start a podcast, and that'll give us some time to just kind of reflect on all the stuff that's been happening. We ended up just talking utter shite.
Mate, we're 36 episodes into talking shite and we enjoy it.
We're really good at it.
I'm not sure we're good at it. We just do it and we like it.
So what's the format on that? Is it just you discussing certain comedians, or just the scene in general, or specific types of it?
Well, we've only done the one episode, and it was basically just about people who watch us, or watch me, or watch the boys on other platforms. It was just kind of for all them to get an idea of what we are as a unit and who we are as individuals. I think there's a lot of rumours and speculations about different things, so we just thought we would just answer it all in the one episode. So it's talking about that, yeah. But we've got quite a lineup for guests, whether it's online creatives in Scotland and also the Scottish comedy scene. Because the thing that impresses me so much is just how at the minute you have two worlds that are colliding, and it's the internet world and the live scene. Now that you've got it back, because for 2 years we basically didn't have the live scene.
Yeah.
So you see all these grassroots starting comedians who started at the small clubs and worked their way up and become the level that they have now, mixing it with these basically overnight sensations. And it's all about them, and a lot of them are merging and crossing platforms, and you see that as well. And I just think because we kind of do both, it's great to sit and talk about that and have different people from different backgrounds on.
So if people want to, I was joking about the I did bleep out the name, but I'm going to plug it anyway. So if people want to see that, it's if the easiest way is if you go to TikTok and you go to Mackay, and the link is in the bio in there. That's the easiest way to do it. So
famous.
I have to admit, I only found out about it literally about an hour before we came on here, so I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I will. But it looks visually stunning, and we chatted about this before we came on. It looks amazing because it's well lit. And I get jealous of these people who are who do a podcast where they're in the same room. I know that sounds like a silly thing, but when you're in the same room and you see it from different camera angles and the lighting's great and visually it looks perfect and things. Something that unfortunately, seeing as Baz and I live in completely different countries, and so do many of our guests. We're in 3 different countries here. Do you know what I mean? We can't all have the luxury of being in the same room together. But it does. It looks amazing. Going back to your the website that you put all your details on. I mean, this isn't like, and this isn't like identity fraud or anything. Do you know what I mean? I didn't find this shit in your bin. It was on the internet. It's accessible to people. Do you know what I mean? So here's something that I thought might be a bit interesting. Because people when they put this sort of on acting types, put things like this on there, they tend to exaggerate, and they might say they can ride a horse, and then they get off the part of the horse and they're like, "Fuck, I can't ride a horse." I lied about that bit. I was particularly impressed by the extensive list of accents that you said you can do, Gregor.
Oh, fuck.
So, something I want to do here. I want you to have a go at some accents, right? It is. I want you to have a go at some accents. It says here that you can do a really. It said, I don't say you can do a really. It says you can do a Liverpool accent.
Oh yeah, my scouse. Right, mate. So shut your fucking mouth if you're talking to me like that. right? Because it's a little bit of I fucked it there.
And this is why we did it. This is fine. This is why we did it. It was just that was a melting pot of.
But that's meant to be one of my better ones down south. So
just all right then. Manchester. It says here Manchester. Talk me through it then.
yeah. It's been a while since I've done that, but I did do it in a show once, so that's why it's on there. Hang on, give me a minute. What's the sort of thing that they say?
Just think Liam Gallagher, you'll get it straight away.
Yeah. You been? Oh, no. You hanging around, our kid? You hanging around?
There you go. That's not bad. That's not bad actually. Because do you know what? It's I'll give you credit because the when you hear people who are English trying to do a Manchester accent, they tend to get it wrong anyway. But you've got to try and hide yours first. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, if you imagine it like putting makeup on to look like someone, you've got to kind of put a load of makeup on to cover up the Glaswegian first, and then put the Manchester on, I reckon. So I'll give you credit for that, mate. It's a tough old job. Although I am interested in, you say you can do a Russian accent. Are you after a part in like Killing Eve season 12 or something?
What is this? What are you saying to me?
Oh God! There's probably been flagged up on some kind of system now. There's a red light going off in an office in Moscow somewhere now.
So the beauty thing about a Russian accent, you just have to sound menacing.
Yeah, it's just got to be low. It's just mentioned.
It's always. You know, you could probably read out the ingredients of a cake and sound scary if you do it in a proper Russian accent. I've got so I think that one of the ones that I always think is distinctly different from everywhere else is Edinburgh.
Yeah, Edinburgh's a good one.
I believe it's just much softer, isn't it?
With Edinburgh, there's different ones, isn't there? There's clearly like an accent in Edinburgh where it almost gets towards English and posh. Do you know what I mean? They try really hard to be posh, don't they?
Yeah, that's like morning set. Yeah, there definitely is that side of it. And then obviously the more outskirts you go, you're borderline, and it gets a bit intense. Some of it's a bit like this. I mean, I don't care what you're saying, like pal, but you see if you pure came at me like that, it'd be a pure different ball game. Because you see some of them like they done it kind the way I do, pal. Like,
That's amazing.
It's got my uncles from there.
That's it. It's just it's amazing because you're right. When people talk about Edinburgh accents, people do think like, you know, the money side and the posh bit and all that. But yeah, then they forget train spotting.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's that side of Edinburgh, because I'm pretty sure that was a documentary, and I saw some quite unsavoury types on that documentary. Do you know what I mean? So they're not all posh in Edinburgh.
You know, can we just address the final one? Well, certainly that we should do English.
Well, just like a standard English. Like
your interpretation, because obviously it goes far and wide.
It just depends. Like a standard English, I'd go RP.
Yeah.
So it would be a little bit like this, and I don't quite. Oh, that's me going Cockney. I don't quite know if that's shit, but it might not be. But you see, if it is, I don't fucking care, governor. I don't care.
There you go. See what you've done there. But that's good, because like, again, you've painted over the Glaswegian and gone for an English accent, and it doesn't matter where in the country it is. Somebody in England sounds like that.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Quite often you go, oh yeah, I can do an accent, and it's like, to be fair, your Scouse did sound like someone who was on a very low low wage on a call centre, who's quite clearly not really called Ian. Do you know what I mean? It's like is in Bombay or something, but has had some training to pretend to sound English.
Are you called George?
Yes, I'm Simon. No, you're not. You liar. Hello, my name is Simon. You're not conning anyone, son. Just get me fucking phone working again, all right? Don't start lying to me about your name. I know that you're in Mumbai, and your name's not Simon. So just sort my fucking phone out and stop lying to me.
I want to say about your Cockney as well. That sounds like something you could do for an entire TV series. It seems manageable without you're not stretching yourself too far in it.
Yeah, 100%. My actually favourite one that my favourite English accent, which I think is the easiest to do, is maybe Yorkshire. But sometimes I think mine sounds maybe a little bit Mancunian. I don't know. But I do like that one.
Go on then. You can't just say that without backing it up.
Some people, they're funny. They tolerate other people. They take the piss out of themselves. They work out like things are hard, but they're not. But you see me,
That's very good.
I'm just pretty simple. Like, was that bad? I don't know.
That's
You
good.
know what, that's very good. And I clearly can't speak for the entirety of the north of England, but I am from just north of Manchester, and also if I go 10 miles south of my house, I end up in Manchester. If I go 10 miles, well, where I used to live, and if I go 10 miles east, I end up in Yorkshire. So I think I'm pretty well qualified.
Yeah.
That's somewhere in there. Do you know what I mean? And there are people who talk like that. There'll be the people in Yorkshire talk like that. There'll be some people in Lancashire talk like that, and there'll be some people in Manchester talk like that. So.
When I first met Mike, and we went to Bury, which is a town just north of Manchester, I immediately adopted a kind of hybrid northern accent, which I couldn't get rid of. I just kept saying "I."
And it was unbelievable. It was like literally the first time we met on the internet. It's a beautiful story. And we the first time we met in real life was when we were meeting up to do the audition for a TV show. So we had to meet up, brother. So he came up to Bury, where I'm from, and we went. We had lunch and then went to play golf. And I'd say by the 5th or 6th hole, every so often I'd ask him a question, and he'd reply in this just faux Yorkshire accent. I was like, "What the fuck has that come from?" And he goes, "Oh, sorry, I just find myself affecting the local accent every so often." Do you know what I mean? When I go places, I'm just like, I don't mind, but it's just a bit weird. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, and by the way, Baz, if you do tend to kind of subconsciously have a go at the local accent when you go places, can I suggest you don't go and travel around India?
Yeah,
because I think there may be problems. But to be fair, you're half Malaysian as well, so once you've been there a while, you might get away with it.
I'll bear that in mind.
I wanted to just get your opinions and input on a story that I found on the news this week. In Nottingham this week, police reveal further details after stopping a man who drove without insurance or a license for more than 70 years. Okay, so officers say the driver, who was stopped near a Tesco Extra in Nottinghamshire on Wednesday evening, said he was hard of hearing, his reactions were poor, and he was very unsteady on his feet. The driver claimed he'd been driving without documentation since the age of 12 and had never been stopped by police before or had an accident. This guy shouldn't be punished. He should probably get some kind of certificate or medal. Gregor, what's your thoughts?
Right, so this is where age comes into question, right? Because the man's 70, instantly the reaction is, "Oh," do you know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, it's just a wee old guy. He could be the cleverest old fucker out there who's just manipulated everybody," when he knows full well that he probably should have had documentation at some point in his life. No, definitely he should get let away with it, but it's a wee bit jailbait, is what I would say.
Jailbait?
Do you know what jailbait means?
I know what jailbait means. Well,
I know what I think it means. Yeah,
jailbait where I'm from is somebody is a female who isn't of the age of consent, but with makeup on looks like she is.
Yes.
Oh, see, here was this.
So I would suggest this man who's been driving without a license for 70 years is as far away from that description as you can get.
Give us your version of it. What's it around your way then?
We just use it as being sus. Anything that's at all sus is usually just like, that's jailbait.
Yeah, he's definitely sus. He's definitely not wearing makeup to appear older. I do get your point though, to be fair, because he's an old man, everyone's like, "Oh, bless him, let him away with it."
I like to think as well that we're talking about something which is not such a criminal thing in terms of driving. We'd be having a completely different conversation if if he'd been touching little kids. Let's be fair about this.
Yes, Baz, that is a different conversation. I don't think his defence then would be, I've been doing it since I was 12.
I was thinking that.
Oh, bless him. Oh, that's all right, isn't it? He's old and he's been doing it since he was 12, so let's let him off with it. When you went down the route of pedos, I didn't think this was going to make the cut, but it's now definitely going to make the cut because it swerved round into something that was entertaining instead of just being like, oh shit, what's he just said?
Another podcast my mum can't listen to.
I've not told my mum where to listen to this, and we're 36 episodes in for that exact reason. Another thing that is on your list of talents that I didn't know you wrote, but you did, is musician.
Well, I think to clarify, musician's a broad term. I would say
to be fair, mate, it's not my words, your words, dickhead.
Yeah, I like to think. Well, I think kind of what I'm kind of known for across the internet is comedy songs.
You've got a guitar in your hand. We've heard about this song called "Gravy in My Shoe," and I know that. And look, I know this might be like asking Travis to play "Why Does It Always Rain on Me," and they want to play something else. Do you know what I mean? But I don't care. People want to hear "Gravy in My Shoe," Gregor. Give the people what they want.
I don't know if I can remember it. It was like 2 years ago. Hang on.
Well, actually, just while you're thinking of it, it's quite an unusual title. What is it about? If you just say it's about gravy and mushroom.
I remember the inspiration for it. The inspiration for it was the centre of Glasgow Central Station, and some of the characters that you see kicking about at all manners and times of the day. And I basically just heightened a conversation that I'd heard about someone standing in shite. And it was something along the lines of Maggie, do you want the shite in my shoe? And I was just like, wow, that's really funny, because that's only really here that somebody would find it hilarious that they've just stepped in dog shit. I think the Scottish have a really good way of taking something. I don't know, a lot of people do this too. So, but what I've observed is that people in general have a really good way of taking something awful here and somehow turning it into this really funny like scenario to make light of. And that's what I did with that. And instead of I just turned him into a bit of a weird guy who's kicking about Glasgow trying to offer people a shoe.
With gravy in it.
Well, it was his shite. The whole basically it's shit in a shoe, but he's calling it gravy. Because I think the last line is, "Do you want the gravy in my shoe? No, I don't, because it's watery poo." It's something like that.
I think that's one of the finest rhymes that a musician has come up with. It's quite beautiful. So if you can't remember "Gravy in My Shoe," what are you going to play for us?
So there's a new one I've actually been working on with the Sketch Boys, and it's about potholes, because there's been a real fucking problem with potholes at the minute where I'm from.
Everywhere.
Yeah, they're just not fixing the roads. So I changed the words to country roads. If you know that song.
Yes.
So I can sing a wee bit of this for you and see how it goes. Cunty holes in these old roads, can you fix these potholes? Glasgow Council, I've tried to phone ya loads and loads about these holes. That's all I've got right now.
That is brilliant. I need to speak at this point about potholes in the road, and it's not. Listen, don't switch the podcast off now. I'm not going on a rant about the council should be fixing them. I'm going to talk about in Bury, where I'm from. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm from a town called Bury, just north of Manchester. T-shirts are available. That's not even a joke. They are. Anyway, there was somebody in Bury who his way of getting the local council to repair them was to spray paint a massive male phallus around them. So he would spray paint a massive in yellow spray paint. He'd spray paint a cock and balls around the pothole, so the council had to come and remove the obscenity and fill the pothole while they were there. And not only that, he did it so often. He was his. I don't know if he coined his name or somebody else did, but he became known as Wanksy, and he was. He would go around and people would he'd set up a Facebook page and people would go, there's one on this road, and he'd go out like it's stealth in the dead of night with his yellow spray paint and spray cock and balls around the pothole, and the council would, as if by magic, would be there the next day and repair the pothole and clean off the cock and balls. So,
well, of course, much like Banksy, there must have been copycats as well.
yeah, I think so too. And I just think what a brilliant idea, what a creative solution to the scourge of the pothole. So I think you've done that in a different way. I think you've brought the crisis of potholes to the nation's mind in a different, more creative and less vandalistic way.
And also, if you're going to write another verse on that, you can include that whole story there.
yeah.
Okay, that's a brilliant story. You know,
next verse on that needs to say, if you don't, I'm going to spray paint a massive cock around it until you do. Just like Wanksy in Berry.
I'm just imagining that when he's in year 11. Davey, what do you want to be when you're older? I want to be an artist. 10 years later, he's standing there with a spray paint can at 4 a.m, painting a cock and balls. What the fuck has my life come to?
He's doing it, and as he's doing it at 4 a.m. in the dead of night, he's spraying this. They said I wouldn't become an artist. My careers advisor said I wouldn't make it as an artist. Idiot. Look at me. Look at me. I am Wanksy.
How many people see my work? You obviously play the guitar. Do you play any other instruments? Because I'm kind of aware that Tim Minchin is another comedy songwriter, and he's primarily a pianist. So do you play the keyboards?
Yeah. I started on piano. Piano's my first instrument, so that's kind of the one I'm most, I'd say, better on. Most better is not a word. This is why I do comedy and not English.
When you said I'm most, I thought you were going to say competent, but no, you went with better, which is cool.
For a 5-year-old. Yes. So I'm most competent at piano. Start playing that, but yeah, play a few things. Play ukulele as well, if that really counts. No, it does count to all the ukulele players out there.
I'm one of those.
Yeah, no, uke's great. The uke's great. Getting out of that hole I've just dug for myself.
What's the issue? Is the ukulele a piece of piss? So other musicians look down on it?
It's more for me because I can only do really 4 chords on it. So
it's only got 4 strings, so it's much easier to play for a start.
So what else? The drums as well. Yeah, I play the drums. I'm actually doing a show in a couple of weeks where I'll be the drummer in that, which will be cool.
Are there any comedy drummers? Because I can imagine that'd be quite difficult to relay comedy whilst playing the drums.
I've just got visions of Gregor sitting on the stage saying a joke and then going.
That thing I'm doing is actually for a play. So I'm playing a drummer in that. He's like a stupid guy, and he's part of a rock band, and I'm playing the drummer. So that'll be fun. But yeah, the Animal is the only kind of comic drummer I can think of.
Gregor, can I suggest that you update this website? Take off the fact you can do a Liverpool accent and put on that you can do drums.
Why is that on there? You see that thing? I must have done that as an attempt to try and get myself an agent, and it worked.
Yeah.
There you go. Maybe that's what I need to do. I want to know. As you know, Baz and I had a sniff of TV, and for those listening, we can't talk about it, but in probably a couple of months, you'll see it and you'll be fucking sick of listening to it. So, because we've got loads of stuff already recorded that we're going to do about the show when it airs. But yeah, I enjoyed it so much. I'm just like, I want to be on telly for the rest of my life. So I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to manifest the shit out of it and make it happen. It's like, I'm not too old to start being a TV celebrity. I'm going to start now. So there.
So that leads us really nicely into the other qualification on there as actor. So what have you acted in, Gregor?
So this is the thing that I think people always they maybe don't necessarily assume with me, but I actually started out in acting. I trained there. I trained for 4 years as an actor. That's kind of why I have this plethora of instruments as well that I perform on, because it was part of training.
Yeah,
It was so I trained for 4 years, mainly just in stage. To be honest, I'd done a couple adverts. I'd done like some Scottish government adverts. I only left uni 3 years ago. Yeah, so I've done a couple adverts, done a bunch of shows. I've done some short films. I've done some. I don't really like. You see, to be honest, you see when people ask me like, "What have you done?" I've done stuff. I've done a lot of stuff, but I don't really like sitting in. Oh, look at me! I've done this or I've done that. I've done some good stuff.
You're gonna have to learn to sell yourself because you can't just rely on your agent, mate. Come on.
Yeah, no, yeah. So done that. I lived in Newcastle for a little while because I was doing a show over there. Northern Stage, if anyone knows it, which is one of the big ones there. So I'd been there for a few months, done some stuff all around Scotland. Yeah, and to be honest, while I was doing all that, comedy was always the thing I wanted to do. And I kind of told myself that is the sort of thing that I don't have to rely on other people for.
yeah.
I've kind of got all the cards when it comes to that. So yeah, so that, to be honest, it's the reason I've got a lot of the gigs that I've got now, or had gotten over the last year or so, is because I've done all the comedy stuff, whether it be from online, whether it be from offline with the boys, or online. That kind of helped me get actual acting roles.
So let's go back. Like we heard you play a very brief song, but we want more of that. Come on,
Yeah.
we don't. I nearly said we don't very often get talented people on here, but that makes it sound like I don't rate anybody else who's been on this podcast. That's
Cut that bit out.
That's not what I meant. I think I might do. We don't often get people who will come on here who are willing to and agree to come on with a musical instrument to entertain us. So yeah, what else do you want to play us?
Right, let's try something. Let's try something new. So why don't either of you give me a topic, or give me like a word or a scenario or something, and I'll try and come up with something.
We'll come up with one each for him.
Yeah, go on then.
So I'll come up with a topic. Then we go for something really boring because it makes it more difficult. Let's go for fishing.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
And do you want it happy or do you want it sad?
What you choose?
Okay.
Do both.
Oh, so sad, but then turns happy. What a beautiful moment that would be.
Is there something missing? Okay, I've got you. I was fishing, then I realised there was something missing. I had no arm. I was fishing, then I realised something was missing. I had no vision of the fish in front of me, and it jumped up the boat and it bit at me. Now I have no other arm. So I'm the armless man with arms that don't exist.
Do you do this? Do you do this in the show?
Well, we're going to incorporate this into the new one, actually, because we're doing a work in progress show in March, and part of it is going to be audience interaction, where I just get them to do this.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing is that 3 podcasts ago we had somebody who only has one arm, so that's a nice little. So at that point, as Gregor was singing that, I'll put one of those card things at the top of the YouTube. So as he was singing about a fisherman that only had one arm, the card will go to click on that, and you'll be able to go and listen to the go and see the podcast of when we did have somebody on who only had one arm. Beautiful.
I'm assuming that most of your gigs end up with your audience fairly well inebriated, because it doesn't sound like a bottles of water and tofu, does it? So your subjects are going to be fucking bizarre, aren't they?
Yeah, it was so inappropriate. It's just some stuff I'm like, thank God this isn't being recorded.
On that subject, you've done a live tour, and as Baz says, some of your the people in your live tour and when you did the Fringe would have been pissed. So, have you got any examples of when that's been entertaining, embarrassing, or worse?
Yeah, so yeah, there's a couple. I mean, there was one fairly recently, where we were actually on support for Gary Meikle, and we come off the show, and usually he does like a meet and greet, so we were standing there talking to people and stuff, and it was great, and it was lovely to meet new people that were interested in it and stuff. And this individual comes over to me, and she's like, "Oh, can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, of course." She hugs me and she doesn't let go, and I'm like, I can't. I don't really. I'm trying to think of a nice way to describe this. She would have won that battle of me trying to get out. And basically, I was kind of stuck there, and she kept talking to me, but she was so drunk that I couldn't hear a word she was saying. I couldn't hear a word. She was just hugging me so tight, and she was like heavy. I mean, Glasgow accents, most are hard, but try that when you're fucked out your mind. And she was just hugging me, and all I could smell was gin. And I was like, right, I need to get out of this somehow. So I just went, yes, yeah, sure, whatever, yeah, cool. And then she lets me out of it, and she's just like, takes the phone out and gives it to me, and I'm like, what? What have I done? Turns out she was asking for my number the whole time, and I had no idea what she was saying.
So, how long have you been with your new girlfriend?
Oh, no comment.
So, what was the other one?
So the other one was at Fringe 3 years ago, I think. I always remember it because it was the reaction of the guy at the time was priceless. We were doing a show, and we were maybe like 10 minutes to the end of the show, like really near the end of the show, and we were all exhausted, and I just ran off in between one of the sketches to catch my breath, and I was having a wee drink of water, and this this guy, this really pissed guy, just stumbles through the back curtains, not really knowing where he is, and he just kind of looks at me, and he's like, "Excuse me, mate, do you know where the toilet is?" And I'm just looking at him like, I'm literally about to go on stage, mate. And he's just like, "You're doing really well, by the way." Just like- and I just look up at the tech, and I'm like, there's a drunk guy here, and I don't know what to do with him. And he's like, he's trying to have a conversation with me about the toilet when I'm about to go on. I think the thing I was most amazed about was even in his inebriated state, and needing the toilet as much as he did, he still took the time to say, "I'm really enjoying the show, by the way," while it's going on.
So it's like, I know I'm shit faced and desperate for the toilet, but I need to take the time to give you a review here.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the guitar, because I've got a scenario for you.
Okay, what is it? What you want to hit me with?
Okay, my scenario is, it's a common thing that afflicts us all at some stage. You've had a dump, you turn around to wipe, and you realise there's no paper left.
The worst, yeah. That needs to be a sad song.
Or come up with a solution. Either way.
I think I've got some. I went for a dump, but I'd been Donald Trumped. Went to wipe my ass, but there was nothing left. I've been Donald Trumped when oh god.
I like the facts, right? You kind of lost your thread a little bit there, but I like the fact you've coined a new phrase that having a shit and then realizing there's no toilet paper. You've now coined the phrase that is being Donald Trump. I want to make that happen. I want to make that happen. The world needs to start using that. Oh, have you ever been Donald Trump? Nothing worse.
What could you do there? You could be like, I'd shouted it was too late That ship had already departed. I shouted it was too late. That ship had already departed. Toilet paper, you were my savior, but you were nowhere to be found. So I had to put my hand on the ground and find an old sock. Had it been used on someone's cock? And then you could kind of like lead that into like a, at the festival, weird things happen. At the festival, weird things happen. I seen a guy snapping his jaw like this. He was talking about birds and how they like to kiss. Not him though. Definitely not him though. But it's a sin when you've got no toilet paper. Especially when you told her you liked her sister. And the second when you walk out, you have no doubt that she can smell the shade coming out your backside. Because there was no toilet paper.
Mate, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. That's it. And I love the solution of the sock. I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Well, have you never sacrificed a sock or a pair of pants?
Have you not?
Well,
I have.
there was an occasion where I'm almost certain this isn't going to make the cut, but anyway, there was an occasion when in my late teens that I was in a nightclub and I was in the queue for the nightclub actually, and
got more grim.
Everything evacuated. Not the nightclub. Everything from within me evacuated. Whilst I was in the queue to get in the nightclub. Luckily, I was wearing briefs that night and not boxer shorts, so it held it like a hammock. And then once I was able to gain access to don't know how they let me in, by the way. I'm sure they didn't pat me down as a drug search.
If they hadn't done it, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, once I got in, I was able to empty said underwear. And there was no toilet paper, so I had to use the underwear to tidy up, and then carried on with my evening. And long story short, pulled. Hey,
now that is a song.
Oh, but do you know what? I do remember late on in the evening that evening, as me and said lady were off to a taxi. I had a long sleeve T-shirt on, and she saw something and she said, "You've been sick tonight." I went, and she went, "Because there's some on your sleeve." I didn't explain to her that wasn't sick. You're walking up to the bouncer, he goes, "I've just got to do your security pat down." I wouldn't if I were you, mate. This could go off at any moment. You know what I mean? It's not an IED, but I tell you what, nobody wants this going off here.
I'm telling you, that's a song. Kiwi Poo is a fucking song.
There you go. I'm glad I've given you some inspiration to.
And you know, like if you ever sung that, they go, "Oh, what a ridiculous song! That had never happened." Okay.
Yeah, don't you just hate it when these comedy songs are just so far fetched they could never happen in real life? Do you know what? I've just realised that this is going to have to make the cut of the podcast because it's turned into being relevant to you. And this could be the first evidence of the inspiration for the song Kiwi Poo. I love to think that in years to come, right, you will be floating about on a lilo in a swimming pool that's diamond encrusted and it's in the shape of an emoji poo. And the reason for that is that you've made all the money that paid for the swimming pool off the song Kiwi Poo that you wrote in response to that conversation that we've just had.
You know, the funny thing is, I think I've actually come up with a song now. Like I can feel it. I can feel it in my head. It's there.
You can feel it brewing.
I can feel it brewing.
Is it on its way out? Let's hear it.
Is a brewing. Let's see.
I hope he's laughing at the lyrics. I hope he's laughing at the lyrics because they're funny.
I did a Kiwi Pooey when we my pal Louie, 'cause I needed to let one out. And when we got to the door, the bouncer looked me up and down. Thankfully, saw no sign of brown. They let me in, I chucked them in the bin. I forgot about the sins that I did. But unfortunately for you kids, someone else did. They saw my pooey Louie actions. Oh, a Kiwi pooey sounds fun at first, but let me tell you, it's the fucking worst, cause you get weird arse scratches and it doesn't feel fun on your bum, cause you don't have the padding from your Calvin Klein boxers. On a night out, of course. Cooey, cooey, how it was nice and gooey. Cooey, cooey, I felt like I was on a lilo. But actually, I was about to die though of embarrassment. And then the story progresses. Then I took a girl home. Think I was going to bone. Then she asked me something funny. She said, what's that on top of your tummy? Oh shit, my boot lifted on my shirt. It's round. It's really bad. Looks like that. I'm sorry. It wasn't me. She said, I get it. That's understandable.
I quite like the talking bits of that. The talking bits are good.
Yeah, the story.
So, Gregor, what else you got coming up? Is there anything you could talk about, or have you got any secret projects that you could exclusively tell us here?
Yeah. So there's actually there's oh wow, there's three kind of secrety things. I can't really talk too much about, but I can give a little bit about.
Just a little bit of a flavour of each one.
Yeah. So well, I'll get the obvious one out of the way. So Ouija's, we're still doing shows. We're going to be in Aberdeen next month. We're going to be all up around Scotland. Back on tour with Gary Miko for a bit, doing a few shows with him. And then
With the website, mate. How do people get involved?
Just follow us on Facebook. All our information's on there. So we just have like all our tour posters up at the minute. A lot of these, the links are individual if you want to come see it live. So it will just take you to a third-party website if you find us.
For the people who aren't Glaswegian, talk us through how they spell Ouija. What do you think of that on a Facebook search?
So it's WEEGIE spacebar HINK spacebar AE spacebar THAT question mark. And that's you.
It could not be any more simple. I do apologise for asking the question. So, right, apart from the Ouija's tour, what are the other things you got coming up? I know one of them is really, really exciting. So only tell us what you're allowed to tell us. But that's
yeah. So so one of them is so obviously we started the podcast. Our plan was to have more coming out at the minute, but we've kind of had to halt that because we've been given an offer that we need to see if that could potentially take it to a different do different stuff with it. So
not being funny, Gregor, but I really like you, but this is bullshit. Me and Baz have done 36 with fucking no offers whatsoever, right? You do one, unbelievable.
In fairness, Gregor's doing it with two really talented guys, so it's got to help, isn't it?
I know, yeah. It's like, maybe I need to think about my co-host. Maybe I need a co-host who can play the fucking guitar or something. Anyway, sorry, Gregor. So yeah, you've got the podcast the potential future developments of the podcast.
Yeah, got that, which is exciting. And then we've got so I've got more BBC skits that are on their way out. And then they're with Gary Miko. I think we've got one or two left that are yet to come out, with some other stuff that I've done with them, and hopefully something bigger might be on the horizons for.
I'm not going to give the game away on that, obviously, because you're not allowed to say anything. But Gregor told me what that is before we started recording, and it's fucking massive. So everybody has got their fingers crossed for you on that one, even people who don't know what it is. So best of luck with that. Best of luck with the tour. Best of luck with everything you're doing with Gary, with the BBC, with everything you want to do, mate. I'm honestly, you are destined for massive things. I'm 100% convinced of that. I want to say thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
I want to, you're another example of somebody I've met through this TikTok journey we've all been on, who I'm just so blessed to have met. I think you're an amazing young man. Can't wait till we actually get over and have a proper face-to-face piss up with you. It's going to be amazing. But for the time being, if you are listening or watching for the first time, subscribe, like, review, do anything you can to promote this podcast, and go and watch it as well. But it's not as good as ours. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you later.